Hello and happy Sunday. Old time. It is our old time. And for those of you who missed this old time, or like the new time, or just tuning in now, if this gets a lot of more viewers than what we had before, we might have to go with this time when I'm back in LA. Anyways, happy Sunday. If you're new here, I'm Mark. This is a live stream of the Invisible People family. I don't know how else to put it because we become family over the last 2 years. I've been live streaming. I rarely even share it on social media. It's just us hanging out. And forgive me, I'm a little flabbergasted. I've been out on the streets all day long, and I just got back, and I wasn't even going to hook up the camera. I was just going to do it Mickey Mouse style. And I love you guys. And I went the extra effort and hooked everything up and made it almost in time. I think, what is it? We started like 5 minutes late. Please forgive me for that. And as always, I see Eric and Addie. Derek, I did it again. I told you that I was a little bit crazed from running around. Actually, I'm slowing down a little to catch my breath so we can make it for the show. So Derek is currently homeless and Addie is formerly homeless. And they are, I will argue, the best moderators on the internet. They are, as Derek just said, he's a troll zapper. How are you all doing? How was your week? Thank you, Anonymous. It has been, I haven't traveled in a bit. Thank you, Anonymous. And I'm here in New York City. Some of it is behind the scenes meetings, but I, of course, am out on the streets every single day as much as possible. And I'll bring you through some of it. First, our first day here was with Shams. And it was so awesome because we were invited to speak to a high school, Riverdale Country School. And these kids, oh my gosh, it is just so amazing. These kids are so wonderful. I'll just go to the next slide. So these are two of the organizers of the event. And they're in a very affluent neighborhood. And that's Shams, otherwise known as the homeless hero. So they invited me to speak, and I do this, and I've done this to Sham twice now, is, Invisible People is a national, international organization. And I really believe, as advocates and homeless services and nonprofits, we need to support each other. So I invited Shams to join me to tag team, and it was wonderful. It was, oh my gosh, because if you are not familiar with Shams, we interviewed him live once on this channel. We'll probably do it again. Shams is an old, I shouldn't call him old, I'm old. He is, from the hip hop. He was one of the, instrumental in early days of hip hop. And he's got an amazing story. I'll let him tell it when we interview him again live. But Shams was homeless in New York City, and now he's a homeless advocate. He's about 4 months, I think, in housing. Like Addie, it's insecure housing. Well, a little different. Please forgive me, Addie, but I think you're not in housing that's part of homeless services, right? And so Shams is insecure because it's part of the government and they mess up so many times. But anyways, Shams and I represented, they gave us ball caps. I love this photo. I just love this photo. And then they picked us up in cars, right? So I've been to New York City a bunch of times. And only one other time was I picked up by a car. And that was when Dateline, NBC flew me in to do the show. And I just love this because Shams had never been escorted by a car, driver and car, nice rides. And he just loved it. And being able to share that with him was super, super, super cool. So the rest of the evening, I, of course, grabbed some socks and I went out on the streets. And you guys have probably already seen Cynthia's video. Cynthia's been homeless for 7 years. Right when I started talking to her, she told me she lived in a box. And she considers sleeping in this chair an upgrade. Could you imagine sleeping in a box to begin with, and then sleeping in a chair, and you consider it an upgrade because you're not on the ground? So Cynthia's been outside for a long, long time. Well, 7 years. That's a long time. In New York, that's rough. And Cynthia is very candid about the abuse of the shelter system and also life on the streets. So the next morning, I went and I met Dr. Kelly. That's Dr. Kelly in the middle. She's an emergency room doctor at Bellevue, excuse me. I told you, I've been running around all day, and it's funny because when we do California time, I'm just getting coffee in me and I'm brain dead. And here it's back to, New York time, and I've been running around all day and I'm brain dead because I'm so tired. But you guys are so worth it. You're the Invisible People family, and that's why I put this little show together. So Dr. Kelly in Bellevue is very instrumental. You should follow her on Twitter. We interviewed her live, and that's Josiah, who is, I think he is the chief program officer for an organization here called City Relief. So they set up on the sidewalk different locations throughout New York, and they help homeless people. They have a bus, they offer food, they set up tables, they do case management. It's really, really, really amazing. So one thing I was going to do, which I spaced on, is let me go back to the main shot here. So I put the show together. I swear, I think I messaged Derek and Addie 7 o'clock or whatever, and I got back to the hotel around 7:30, and I quick just put this all together. So thank you for bearing with me. Um, but if you guys have not seen, I'm going to put a link in the chat. Please go watch this. Let me put a link in the chat. Okay, where is the chat? Where is the chat? Okay, John Oliver. Hopefully, you guys watch this. It's a half an hour. It's a comedy show, but he touched all the points about homelessness. They're so important. And he featured my friend, Charmaine. So there's a lot of people that influence the show, but producers had told me that it is our research had a lot to do with. Oh, if you guys don't know, we publish research every year. We survey 16 cities to learn what America believes about homelessness. This year, currently working on the same thing, kind of like a sequel, but we're asking different questions. It's about policing, home ownership, faith, and racism. So that should be out in about 3 weeks. But if you watch John Oliver's show, you saw Charmaine. And a big reason I am here this week is Charmaine. So this photo is a day before yesterday. And I'm just going to go right to this. I might come back to Charmaine's photo. I first interviewed Charmaine in 2013. She had been on the streets since 2005. Last year, almost the same time, I believe it was November 11th. This is the November 21st, November 11th. I interviewed Charmaine, and I interviewed her day before yesterday. No, yesterday, actually. This photo was taken a day before yesterday, and then I went back and I interviewed her, and we went out to lunch of her choosing. But did you notice something there? Did you notice the face of homelessness? How she changed? Now, Charmaine's a tough girl. To be outside for that length of time, crazy. She's a tough girl. But it shouldn't be that way. So currently, and the same with last year, she's been given a place, but it's filled with men, and she's the only woman, and it's not safe. She's been raped and had domestic violence, and who knows what else on the streets. And so she feels safer outside than going into this room. Now, if it's really cold, she'll go into the room. And her boyfriend was housed. That's a great thing. But if Charmaine goes and lives with him, they kick him out. Because if you're not married, see, this makes no sense. The homeless sector could actually house two people at once, but no. They kick people out if they have somebody living with them that's a partner. Now, if you go Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you think security is at the bottom, right? You guys know where you go to self-actualization. It's sex at the very bottom, right? We're still human beings, and we need sex for, to keep the species going. So there's the animal aspect of it, but for good mental health. And the homeless sector houses people, but you cannot have a partner. Charmaine outside for that length of time. I gotta show. That is horrible. It's just horrible. Horrible. So if you have not seen, we're gonna do. I posted the John Oliver again. Highly recommend. Probably Tuesday or Wednesday, I will post Charmaine's third interview. It's not a milestone I'm happy about. And this one, I mean, Charmaine's tough, but my gosh, we gotta end homelessness. It's so crazy that people like Charmaine are outside for so long, right? So Charmaine in her interview says she wants to work, but she's been outside for so long. She needs to be inside to heal for a while. So you don't live homeless from 2005 to now without having some issues. I mean, we all have issues, but you don't go homeless for that long and just walk into employment and a job. You don't. So this is where permanent supportive housing is so important, because otherwise she's outside and our taxpayers. So if you don't have a heart that Charmaine's outside during the winter, taxpayer money, our taxes, when we house people, it's cost effective. Please watch John Oliver. I keep on doing the wrong thing here. Watch that. It's a half an hour long. So, as my journey here continued, I visited with a faith-based foundation. And I got to tell you, I left so encouraged. I was glowing. So when I go into any kind of relationship, I go in and like, how can I provide value to you? So it's a New York foundation and it's a faith-based, meaning they're a church. And we don't work in New York City. I mean, we can come help them, but that's not really what we do. So there was no expecting them to help invisible people or me at all. But the conversation about messaging, about saying unhoused or over homelessness, about faith-based groups, about racism, the conversations we had were so wonderful. It left me glowing. And speaking of glowing, that is my homeless friend, Sherry. So Sherry has been homeless, I don't know how long, but I know we connected online right when Invisible People started. So we've been Twitter friends and Facebook friends, and she's in our online support group for over 10 years, but we never met until yesterday. So this is Times Square. She's in a women's shelter up in 51st. And I got to tell you, she's really an amazing woman. She was homeless in Boston, and she just decided to go live off the grid in Hawaii. And she told me last night, she wasn't really homeless in Hawaii, um, but she was experiencing poverty. She was very low income. She has, I won't go into details. That's something that she can't work, right? So she's on disability, but her brother is in the hospital here. So she left Hawaii because I was like, girl, you're in Hawaii and you come to New York City right before cold? Come on. And she's like, well, my brother's in the hospital here and I wanted to see my brother. So she came to New York City and she's living in a woman's shelter. And, she's wonderful. I mean, a very strong woman. I would almost say she's not homeless because, I mean, she can't afford an apartment. So she is not living in a homeless shelter by choice, but she knows how to navigate the homeless shelter or the homeless services system better than almost anybody I've ever met. It's really amazing. So I have this thing where I like to take homeless people that I meet out to eat. Now they get to pick. So Sherry wanted seafood. And this is New York City. So I try to talk her into something local instead of a chain. But that's what she wanted. See, true homelessness is absence of choice. Homeless people don't have any choice. I mean, you don't get to choose what you want to eat. You don't get to choose when you take a shower. You don't get to choose. It's absence of choice. So whenever possible, I work to give homeless people choice. So one of the things that I do is when I meet a homeless person, that like from online that we've communicated. I got to say that if you're a service provider, I almost tweet this, but I don't know anybody else that goes around the country meeting homeless people that they connected with online, except invisible people. Totally mind blowing. Anyways, I call this homeless woman eating non-shelter food. And it broke my heart. Look at that smile. She's so happy. And she ordered, like a seafood combo. And I mean, it's making me hungry looking at it. She ordered a seafood combo, and I don't know which one it was, but she said, I mean, she loves fish, but she hasn't had it for like ever. And it just is like, oh my gosh, lack of I'm going to get choked up. So today I went down to Lower Manhattan to visit with Feed the Streets. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I have changed, in a way, how I have changed. So that is how you follow them on Instagram. They are not on any other social medias that I'm aware of. And it's just regular people going out helping. So I visited Los Angeles Feed the Streets a couple of times. And this morning they invited me down and I went and I visited the New York version of Feed the Streets. So how I have changed, and there even is a post on Invisible People. Not, we do daily news. We have writers and we do journalism and we do advocacy and we do research. This YouTube channel is not just the only thing we do. So when you're donating, and I'm not pitching, we don't do these live streams to raise money. I mean, occasionally I might do a live stream that's, an event like the 26th coming up, the day after Thanksgiving is our 13th anniversary. I've been thinking maybe I should do a live stream fundraiser, but this isn't it tonight. I set up the live stream only because you guys, if I don't, you give super chat and YouTube takes 30%. So I set up a fundraiser, which YouTube allows us to do as a nonprofit. So 100% of your donation goes to invisible people. And we use that funding to educate the public, to change policy, to get more people into housing, to fix the affordable housing crisis, on. So I have a post, probably one of our most popular posts, about why I don't support public feeding. And some of that I still agree with. So, and this is very controversial, I know it, but so while Feed the Streets was feeding people, there was another organization not even a block away feeding people. And then over across the street, there was another organization feeding people. So there is food insecurity in America, but it's often homeless populations are overfed. There's all kinds of organizations going out, most of them faith-based, feeding people. I was once in Tompkins Square Park for 2 hours. It's a park here in Lower Manhattan, and 5 different churches came and fed the same people. That's what helped shape my views. Then the pandemic hit. And the pandemic changed my views about food insecurity because restaurants were closed. There was no foot traffic for people to panhandle from. And that in itself was a crisis. One of our friends in the online support group that runs a ministry or a homeless charity in Vegas, Meredith, talks about how she was walking and found a homeless man dead from dehydration. So there was a serious lack of food and lack of water when the pandemic hit. So I started to change my mind about food. In many areas, there's still food overfeeding. Now, what I like about Feed the Streets is they clean up after themselves. So many of these organizations just come down and open up a trunk or open up a van and they make a mess. And there's no purpose for it. They're not helping people. I mean, they're giving them food, which is a help, but they're not helping them get out of homelessness. Where I have seen Feed the Streets work to get people out of homelessness. Now, here is, where they really work with the people on the streets. So on top of this, where I really changed that I think is so important is what Feed the Streets or K-Town for All or Selah or West Los Angeles people, and there's Chi-Town for All, and they call them mutual aid groups. I think the biggest value mutual aid groups provide is not the food. It's not the support. So some of them, like K-Town for All, literally sued the city of Los Angeles over how they treat homeless people. Selah, both of these we've done mini documentaries. If you go to invisiblepeople.tv/docs, you can watch all of our mini documentaries. Selah is connected to, they're like organized, all volunteer organization. and they are connected to HMIS, Homeless Management Information Services, and they're like becoming housing navigators. That's insanely good. So there's these different levels of mutual aid groups, but what the purpose of this channel, the purpose of our work, yeah, Derek, I just saw you say something about the refrigerator. I know we helped you fund that. So I was like, if it broke or whatever, I'll help you fund a new one. You were just talking about your community fridge. The purpose of invisible people, and it's getting, criminalization is growing across the country. You've seen me do several of these live streams on criminalization. Criminalization is growing across the country. It's a waste of taxpayer money, and it does nothing to solve homelessness, which is just going to make homelessness worse. Educating the public. A lot of the criminalization is being supported because people fear homeless people. They haven't been educated. So why I'm all in. Two big reasons. The food, the clothes, the hygiene stuff, great. Okay. But there's a lot of organizations doing that. What is so amazing is they're starting to coordinate with support services. And that's not always like an easy road. They're doing advocacy. And the people that come in, and they could be plumbers or bakers or mechanics or graphic artists or lawyers or whatever, they come in, they volunteer. Some of them might not do it for more than a month or 2 months, but they change their paradigm about homeless people. And that's really, 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 really brilliant. It's completely, completely is the right word. Sorry, I really am tired. We have to figure out ways to educate the public to stop this criminalization. Because this should not be happening. No woman, no man should be out on the streets for any length of time in this great country of ours. No woman, no man should be out on the street in this great country of ours. So, folks, how was your week? Let me dive into the chat and talk with you guys. Wow, Kit Kat, you got some chocolates. Walter, how are you? Anne Marie, I know it shouldn't, but it's growing. Mary, I'm so sorry. Yes, Miss So, that sure is. Mary, that's great. Just KF2. I don't know which Katie you're talking about. Eddie, wait until you get our age. The weeks are shorter, but the trouble, the drama, the stress, the problems get more complicated. BG, hello, Haswar, how are you? Swar, that's a great question. So probably the biggest difference is in New York, they have something called right to shelter, which the city got sued and they have to have a shelter space for everybody. What's happened is because of that, the city invested all kinds of money that they should have put into housing into shelters, and the shelters suck. Some of them are just, oh my gosh, they're just nasty because they have to put, believe it or not, New York City has more homeless people than Los Angeles. The other thing that it really, I don't want to say it freaks me out because it's not like it freaks me out, but the big difference I also see, well, I mean, New Yorkers are just way different than us LA folks, but there's also, I hear this from people that move to LA from New York or that visit, and they say the homelessness in LA is way worse. Well, as I've been walking around this week, I see homeless people in the crowd, but they blend in better. So in LA, you see the homeless camps and you see the tents. Where in New York, the homeless people are right on the street. You just don't see them. Yes, you see the guy with the cardboard sign or somebody with mental illness or the person doing drugs. That's obvious. But, here's the deal, right? If Derek lives in a tent city. If you saw Derek walking through a mall or walking on the street, you wouldn't know he was homeless. As a case manager, when I worked with homeless people, most of the homeless people that were my clients, 80% of them, you would not know they're homeless. So I think that is big difference. Oh my gosh, 199. Hey, is Dano in the house? Did Dano make it? I know it's later. Patrick Moore, through education. Miss So, I'm so sorry. Not that you can't donate, but that you're might lose your job. So there's more people watching tonight, and we haven't been in this time zone. Oh my goodness. Do we have to do this in LA? Is this a better time for you guys? And what are y'all doing for Thanksgiving? From gosh, I can't remember where it was. Canada. Yeah, it's actually a good time here. But for BG's being funny because she's from Canada. This time zone works when I'm in New York, but in California it doesn't. Yes, Winnipeg. There we go. Sorry. How is she doing? Hey, Linda. Sean Lewis, I hope to do more traveling. I hope to do more traveling soon. Soviet Ski, hello. No, I think the bum lost the election, but is too much of a big baby to admit it. And I promise, Eddie, I'm not doing politics tonight. I'm too tired. Jano, tomorrow I am going to try to walk around and meet as many homeless people as possible. Well, that's the problem, Mama. 5 a.m. at 5 a.m. in LA time is normally I'm out in a homeless camp someplace. Casual flipper. I leave on the 23rd. I'm getting out of here before the parade and all the madness. Macy Day parade. Yeah, just F. I don't know. um, Last I had heard, we worked really hard to get her support. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Soviet ski. I almost so if you guys do not know this, when I travel, most of the time when I travel, it's paid for by somebody else, and all my international travel has been paid for by somebody else. And a couple of times, almost went to France, but it just never worked out. Barbara Bear, where do I donate? Well, good question. K Town for All, Soma, and Jen are where I would be there today. It's Sunday. I try every week to go out with Soma um, and Sidewalk Project. Linda, thank you for your kind words, but I'm tired. Best way of Bee's life to reach me is at Hardly Normal on Twitter. I mean, I've got, believe it or not, I've got 150,000 emails that I have not opened yet. No, I haven't visited Helsinki. View, view, view. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, they do, because you saw the. Let me see. Let me do that again because I just love it. So you saw me take Sherry out to eat, and that wouldn't have happened if she wasn't vaccinated, because here in New York and I think also in LA, we have to show vaccination to get into a restaurant. And I know people have problems with that, but I'm completely fine with it. Makes me feel safer, and we're not going to end this coronavirus thing until we get vaccinated. I mean, it is the best way to put an end to this. I mean, you're all vaccinated from polio, and tetanus and chicken pox, and all the vaccination is like something normal, but now it's a friggin' political statement somehow, right? And people are like, oh, I want to control my body, laws and everything else. Well, if we did not have, cars would not have brakes. If we didn't have laws, cars would not have seat belts if we didn't have laws. Drunk driving, everybody would drink and drive. I mean, you can go on and on and on and on, where humans will fuck up if we don't have some laws, you know? So get vaccinated and shut the fuck up if you're bitching about getting vaccinated. And I'm sorry, Addie, I said I wasn't going to do politics, but Mike's right. You know, you practice the same thing. I mean, I have my mask right here. I'm vaccinated. I got the booster in me, and I still do social distancing and wear a mask. Casual flipper, I actually really try hard not to swear, but there's certain things in the English, I mean, there's certain words in the English language that just fit. Miss So, exactly right. I mean, all the people complaining about vaccines have had tetanus shots and other vaccines, you know, chicken pox and polio. They, oh, Derek, I must have missed that. When did you get Delta variant? I'm so sorry. Okay, folks, I'm going to call it a night. I haven't eaten and I'm going to run out and get myself some food. Seeing Sherry eat her seafood got me hungry. And then I'm going to crash, get up early, and um, start working. It's Monday. Monday. So thank you very much. I got to tell you, there's more people watching tonight than when we do the LA time on Sunday morning. So, uh, oh, anyways, I said this before. A couple people, and I lost the email. I literally have over 150,000 emails. We're hiring. Invisible People is hiring. We're looking for a program manager and a content producer. The ad is on LinkedIn. It will be on Idealist soon. And we're looking for different people that could even possibly help produce this live stream. If I got some help producing live stream, I think maybe we could do this time. Thank you, Vicky. So Matthew, right now, great question. Right now, we're going back to the 11 o'clock Sunday morning time until further notice when it's West Coast. Thank you, Linda. I can see. I think tonight we even got up to 220 people watching, which doesn't happen at the West Coast time. I just got to figure it out. Thank you for bearing with me while we work through the transition. So, anyways, thank you, Derek. Thank you, Addie. You are the best moderators. Thank you, everybody, for joining in and hanging out. And I don't take it lightly that you guys spend an hour with me every Sunday. I mean, I'm starting to get used to it. At first, it was like, gosh, why would people want to spend an hour with me? And now we've become family. It's become a thing. So, and maybe, just maybe, we'll do a Thanksgiving live stream. We'll see. For those that might not have family or want to escape from their family. So, folks, thank you very much. You are awesome. Charmaine's video will be up probably Wednesday. I don't want to post a homeless video on Thanksgiving unless it's a Thanksgiving video. And we have a couple of those. And I will be out handing out socks on Thanksgiving. And I'm trying to rally up the troops and take a bunch of homeless people out to the movies. But see, everybody feeds. Back to the feeding thing. On Skid Row and throughout the United States, there's more than enough turkey. Everybody's feeding homeless people. I mean, it's homeless people walk from turkey meal, turkey meal, turkey meal. What they don't have is hanging out, watching TV, hanging out, going to movies. So I used to take this is my first year back in Los Angeles, and I used to take homeless people to the movies, and it was, again, back to the choice. If you've been watching all the way through, give people choice, and it was, normally dudes, and they would pick the loud action adventure. So there's a lot of explosions and cars screeching and all that. And every time we went in the movie theater, homeless people, I buy them popcorn and whatever they want, and the homeless people would fall asleep. And for a second there, it bothered me. It's like, I just bought a popcorn and they're sleeping through all this noise. Then I realized it's safe. See, out on the sidewalk, out in their tent, police could come, gangs could come set their tents on fire. There's, it's not safe. But in the theater, even though it's loud, they knew that for at least the length of the movie, nobody's going to bother them. So they went to sleep. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm giving them a safe place to nap for a couple hours. And we did it for several years. And now that I'm back in LA, I want to do it again. I just don't know if I'll be able to. So, anyways, folks, you have a great week. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you for spending some time with us.